Hello, everybody. Welcome to Indie Authors Live. Today, we are going to be chatting with the lovely Audrey Lynn, who is the author of Quartz Mountain, which came out on February 6th. This is a book that I was lucky enough to be able to ARC read, and it was absolutely amazing, absolutely wonderful. So we are going to go ahead and have her join. So we're going to go ahead and do that.
Hi. Let's see. I feel like it's not on my video. Sorry.
It's always fun when we have technological things. All right, so hello to everybody who is joining us today. We are going to be talking about Quartz Mountain, which is a new fantasy portal romance. And we are going to chat a little bit with Audrey about her author journey, the book itself, as well as some just kind of fun questions. So if you guys do happen to have any questions for Audrey, please feel free to go ahead and ask them in the chat. We will definitely get to them in between the ones that I have. But we are definitely excited and looking forward to chatting today with another indie author. I do have these lined up through the end of May, and then I believe that I'm going to take a break for the summer and then come back in the fall. I will still be doing interviews, but they're just going to be posted on my booktube rather than doing lives. So we'll still get some content, but it'll just be no lives over the summer, but then we will have lives in the fall again.
Okay, so for some reason it is only showing audio.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay, that's all we need, right? All we need to do is hear you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
don't know
so
what's
much,
going on. Sorry
for
about
coming
that.
today and joining us. I'm really, really excited to chat with you and talk about your book a little bit. So we can just jump right into it if that's cool with you.
Okay, I'm sorry about the video.
Oh no, it's
I don't know what's
fine.
going
It's
on.
fine. So the first question is, at what point did you decide to be an author, and what was your path to publication like?
So I have always kind of wanted to be an author, but I definitely doubted my ability to do it. I was an English lit minor in college, and I'd read like Faulkner and Hemingway and Steinbeck and all these great classics, and I just always be like, well, I could never write that. Um, and so my dad always would encourage me. He'd say, you really could be an author if you wanted. And I'd say, I don't think I have it in me to do that. But you get in your 30s and you start thinking, well, why not? Like, there's really nothing holding me back from trying. So it was really when I started, I became a stay-at-home mom, and I started a blog. And I was writing just for my blog a lot and I felt like another creative outlet. And I always have been a big reader. And so I was already reading like 50 books a year or so. And so I thought, I really am going to give it a try. So that was almost 2 years ago when I started. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of a long path. Always thought I wanted to do it, but didn't have the courage. So.
And what made you decide to go indie rather than trad publishing?
So I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I was a teacher before I stayed home with my kids, and I've really enjoyed being home with my kids. And as I'm looking towards both of them being in school, I've started thinking like, do I want to go back to teaching, or do I really want to try to like make writing work, whether it's between my blog or my books? And I decided I did want to pursue that as a full-time career. And looking at the process of becoming like a traditional published author, it's like such a long time frame. And then there's so, with so many debut authors, you don't really get as much support as you may expect going traditional.
Hmm.
And so I just thought, why would I waste years trying to fit my books into like this box for other people, when I could just start sharing my stories now and get a head start on hopefully becoming a full-time author.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think, yeah, that the process has definitely been something that I've heard is, that you have to query, you have to find an agent, then you have to, pitch to publishing houses, and it takes a long time. But with this, you can do it on your own terms. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you so much, Jackie Ann, for all the likes, and everybody can share and like, so we can have some more people join us tonight. So Audrey, tell us a little bit about your writing process. Do you outline? Do you plot? Do you quilt? What do you do when you try to write a book such as yours?
So for Quartz Mountain, I didn't do much to prepare for it, I'll be honest. I like had a very rough outline and was just kind of doing it for myself to see if I could write a book. And then that resulted in me feeling like my main male character was really boring and basically rewriting almost all of the book.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had started reading a lot of different books on craft and on plotting. And so for the book I'm currently writing, which is book 2 in the series Sapphire Falls, I have plotted it out pretty
Okay.
thoroughly, but as I write it, I make a few changes as needed. Like, if I feel like my characters actually are doing something different than what I planned, I just adjust as I go. But it's been a much smoother process this time around than the first time I tried writing Quartz Mountain.
Hmm. And Jackie Ann says, I feel that it's really hard to bring the characters to life, especially with romance. What in particular about your male main character kind of made you want to rewrite the whole thing?
I like honestly, I was like my first attempt at writing fiction here. I felt like he was boring and had very little personality. And you've read the book. I feel like now
Yeah.
Sabine has like a really good storyline, and he's my favorite character in this book. And so I think it was worth the struggle to get him there, but just initially, he was pretty bland.
Well, I think that that definitely is difficult too when you write like a whole book and you're just like, listen, like I just need to rewrite this. Like this needs to change.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot. So good for you, for taking that on too, that big editing job.
Yeah, it was
So
about
tell us
three
what.
quarters of the way through when I was
Oh
like,
wow,
he's really not working for me. Anyway, yeah.
wow. Um, so tell us what you enjoy most about writing fantasy.
I really like being able to create my own worlds.
Mhm.
And I like adding in like elements of our world into that world and kind of trying to seamlessly weave them so it still makes sense for our context. That's been my favorite part of writing fantasy, I'd say, is just the world building aspect of it.
Mhm. That's my favorite part of reading fantasy is just being able to
Mhm.
escape to a different world,
Yeah.
where you don't really have to worry about things. Um, Jackie Ann says, did you feel like you used any popular tropes or felt like you had the pressure to put those in your book?
I put some in because I like them and I thought that they were fun to add, and I also tried to like add some twists to some. So like I've always really liked the one horse trope, and so I did do they don't ride horses in my world, they ride elk. So I did do a one elk trope, which I had a lot of fun writing. But yeah, and then I feel like tropes are such a funny thing because you can almost say anything as a trope. So then as I have had people read it, they'll point out that something, it's this trope, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice or realize that,
Yeah.
but yes, I guess it is. So, yeah.
I liked the one elk too. I thought it was so funny.
Mhm.
Um, what do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused and on task when you are writing?
I need music, definitely, is what kind of helps me to focus and be able to get into that writing zone. I can be writing like in our living room with my husband watching TV if I have music on. And I can write while my daughter is working on a puzzle beside me, well, as long as I have some music on my headphones. So I can write anywhere as long as I've got some music.
Awesome. And we're definitely going to get more to like the kind of music in the end, but I'm just going to write Jackin's question about listening to certain music for certain scenes just so I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what is your kryptonite as a writer? What gets in your way?
I feel like when I first was writing Quartz Mountain, I really think it was that I didn't plot it. It was like hard to know where I was really going with the story. So I definitely figured out that I am not a pantser. I am a plotter. I need to have the roadmap in front of me, and then I feel like it goes a lot smoother for me. And the other thing I think is if I'm not getting enough like outside time or exercise, then I start having a hard time focusing on the writing. So I just go outside and have a walk or something to clear my head, and then I'm usually ready to write again.
Well, your profile picture looks absolutely beautiful. Where is that taken?
That's in Glacier National Park.
So beautiful.
Yeah, we live like an hour from Glacier. So,
Wow.
yeah, so not far from us. And
Cool.
definitely part of the inspiration for my world. So,
Whenever like I would search like Quartz Mountain, like it would come up with Quartz Mountain, and I'm like, no, the book.
yeah,
Okay.
So ironically, I'm from Oklahoma, and I didn't know there's like a state park in Oklahoma called Quartz Mountain. So I was like,
must
oh,
be what it is.
didn't even know that.
It's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah, it is.
So we're gonna go on to talking about Quartz Mountain itself. So if you had to describe Quartz Mountain in one sentence or less, what would that sentence be?
Okay, so I actually looked at this right before we got on because I was like, it's so hard to summarize it in one sentence. But I loved, somebody once said that it was a hiking trip gone wrong. And so I think it's definitely a hiking trip gone wrong that results in a woman being sent into a fae world where she meets her soulmate.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so you kind of answered this question already, but who was your favorite character to write and why?
Yeah, I really did enjoy the second time I wrote Sabine's character, just because I liked writing the struggles that he went through and the growth that he goes through as a character. And that's continuing in book 2, and I'm really still enjoying writing his character a lot.
Awesome, awesome. What was the most challenging part of writing this book other than kind of like not plotting it out?
The editing part, for sure. It was like, in my mind, I envisioned editing being a process that wouldn't like bog me down for some reason. I don't know why, but I felt like editing took me like twice as long as writing. So, and I think a big part of that is because I went and rewrote so much of it, and then it was kind of a mess, and I had to fix scene after scene and then deal with like the grammatical errors too, and then have the beta reading where people all are agreeing that they don't like certain things. So I did feel like, well, I should probably think about that and see how I can make that better. But I was not expecting the editing process to be such a monster of a process.
Is there anything that you're thinking about that you're going to do differently with your editing process for Sapphire Falls to kind of make it more manageable?
I think definitely like plotting it out first is going to make it easier. And then I'm also, as I finish each act, I'm running it through Pro Writing to check for like grammar and spelling, little things in chunks as I go. Because like running it through that program, when you're looking at a like 500, almost 500 page document, it's like overwhelming. So, yeah.
That's good. Good, good. What is your favorite line from the book or favorite quote?
Oh gosh. I should have it memorized, but my favorite line is when Sabine tells Avery that he loves her, but I really don't have it memorized. I'm sorry.
Well, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful one. It's beautiful. I don't, obviously, I'm waiting. The only reason that
Yeah,
I
and I
don't
don't
have
have
a
my book
physical
with
copy
me.
is because I want I want a signed copy. So I'm waiting, and it's like really
Yeah.
hard to be patient, but I'm trying.
I
I will have
I
it.
am working on figuring out WooCommerce,
So
but
excited. I'm excited
it's taking a bit
because
of
I
time.
definitely want a physical copy of this book. It's just like I don't give books 5 stars very easily. Like I think I'm just like really like a critic at heart. And so like I'm like, is it 5 stars though? Like what makes it 5 stars for me? But this one I was just like absolutely like
Oh,
it was because like I mean obviously like there's some Outlander vibes in there and I loved Outlander, but this was just I don't know. It was amazing. I loved your book. So I guess
thank you so much.
it's like so weird like like when you're actually like talking physically, like you can write, you can comment, but like when you're talking with somebody about like
Mhm.
something they wrote, it's like, oh my God, like I don't even know what to say. um so when people write or reading or something like that, sometimes they picture certain people. So if you were going to picture your main characters as actors, who would those people be?
Okay, so I read this question and I was like, I am so stumped. I
Mhm.
I don't watch movies, and I don't know why. I just have never been that interested in watching movies. And I only watch reality TV. I'm afraid to admit. So I like literally read that and thought I don't really know actors other than like actors from the 90s, I guess. And I
Really?
still was like, I mean, Hugh Grant's my favorite actor, but he wouldn't fit in here.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm a little at a loss. I mean, hopefully, you know, people read the book and have more idea on what actors could potentially fill the role because that is not my thing, unfortunately.
We'll have to ask in the Arc Reader chat if anybody has anybody like any fan cast, and then I can do like a post about like what some people said.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
fun to see.
yeah, I'll do that. Perfect. So we're gonna move on to the last section here. And please feel free to keep asking questions in the chat. So happy to ask those. And then when we have gotten through my questions, I can definitely, if anybody wants to join, this is going to be posted on YouTube. So that's the only thing is that it is going to be posted somewhere else. So if you don't want your face out there, you can turn your video off or whatnot if you would like to join. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the likes. It's wonderful, wonderful to have everybody here tonight. So some fun questions. What do you like to do when you're not writing?
So I like Avery, my main female character. I'm an outdoorsy girl. In the winter, I ski a lot. I ski as
Cool.
often. Yeah, I usually try to get like 30 to 40 days of ski time in. And then in the summertime, I camp and hike a lot with my kids. So my husband works at a summer camp. He's super busy in the summers.
Oh,
So I will just bring my kids by myself and we'll just go off for a few days on our own, usually camping in Glacier and hiking around that area, just because since I am going alone, I like to be somewhere with a lot of people. Yeah. So, yeah,
interesting.
I'm just, yeah, which is why I wanted to write Avery as an outdoorsy character because, there's not as many in fantasy worlds. Usually people who fall through portals seem to be more bookish. So I decided to make her.
Have you ever
outdoorsy.
had an experience with a bear? Like you wrote?
Fortunately not. I
Okay,
know, right?
cool.
I wrote this
Cool.
terrible experience, but fortunately
No,
not.
yeah,
I
I
do
don't
live
think
in.
is there actually bear spray? Like, is that actually a thing?
Yeah, and I carry
What
it.
is it? Like,
Yep.
what makes
And I
the
sleep
bears
with
not
it.
like it?
Huh?
What is it? What makes the bears not like it?
So bears have like it's like 100,000 times better sense of smell than us or something. Like something
I
ridiculously
have to
high.
be honest. I've only seen Cocaine Bear, and that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, they have, yeah, so they have like super strong sense of smell, and bear
Mhm.
spray is basically like strong pepper spray in a giant can. It's like a big, strong can of pepper spray. And so as soon as like the bear like has it hit their like senses, it will like dart. But like the situation in Quartz Mountain where the wind is blowing and it hits her instead of the bear is like an actual scenario that could happen. So that's why I added that in. So
Interesting. Very cool. Very cool. This is my favorite question of the entire interview, because I've gotten some literally amazing recommendations. I think I'm making my way through the last one, which is Zodiac Academy. But that's like a 9-book series, I think. So
mhm.
that's going to be taking me a while, but I've gone through all the other ones. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say about some books or authors that you would recommend that you enjoy.
So I really love Carissa Broadbent, and I love her
I just
Serpent
finished
and the
Daughter of
Wings of
No
Night.
Worlds, all
Yeah,
three.
yeah, those are really good too. And then right now I'm reading The Ever King and The Ever Queen. I just started The Ever
Mhm.
Queen today by L.J. Andrews, and it has been my very favorite book of the year so far. It's so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I love it. And then another one that, like, another indie author that I really like is Olivia Wildenstein. She wrote this
Mhm.
series called Feather, which is like
Mhm.
a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which is just like breaks your heart. But it gets better. And I really love that series too.
And then she also wrote the what was it?
House of
It's
Beating Wings.
yes,
Yeah. And
yes.
I've
I
read that
that
one
one I need
too.
to read because I read the other one.
I read that one. They,
Is it good?
yeah, I liked it. The main female character, she's like, I don't, I'll admit, I don't like YA books. This isn't
Mhm.
YA, but she kind of acts like a very naive, and so
Mhm.
sometimes it was a little tiring. but but other than that, I really liked it.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, so if you had to share some advice for aspiring authors, or a younger you as an author, what would you say?
I think for myself, a younger version of myself is to not be holding myself back from what I want to do, and that I can, if I put my mind to it, I can do the things I want to do. And not let like societal pressure or expectations that I may put on myself keep me from reaching my dreams. For other aspiring authors, a lot of authors, I think they're immediately thinking that they want to go traditionally published. And I'd say look at indie publishing and really like find out what it looks like and compare it to what you're going to go through with traditional publishing and then make your decision.
Mhm. And I think I also like this question because I'm starting to write my book and I had tried in the past and it didn't work. And so maybe selfishly I asked this question, but I really love that. That you said, kind of just go and do it and look into the options because there are lots of options. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Jack Ann asked, what do you do for marketing for your self-published books? Because that is a downfall of,
Mm-hmm.
indie publishing is that you have to do all of that yourself. So how do you kind of go with that?
Yeah, and actually, when I was looking between traditional and indie, I found out that most debut indie author or traditionally published authors still have to basically market their book themselves.
Hmm.
They don't get much of a budget. So that was another thing where I was like, well, if I got to do it anyway, I'm just going to do it on my
Hmm.
own. Um, but I've used Instagram and TikTok and I've not had anything go viral. And, I'm not like making tons of money a day here. It's like some days I get into the double digits, other days I'm in the single digits, and that's where I'm at. But I also see it as like more of a marathon than a sprint. This is my
Hmm.
first book, and I just have to keep on working on it and getting word out there and doing things like this to let people know that my book is out there.
Yeah. And I think something else is, having an ARC team. So like having a team,
Mhm.
that you do have, to read. But I mean, we
Yeah,
also,
totally.
therefore,
Yeah, and
read
that
the
has been like
promo.
a huge help. And I honestly like I made a post about wanting an art, like looking for ARC readers, and I really didn't know how that was going to go. And I didn't even know, like, because I've never been an ARC reader, I didn't know what to expect. And so it has been just absolutely wonderful and just like, has just made me so grateful and thankful for everybody who has given me so much support as an unknown author, to kind of take a chance on reading my book and then to continue to help me promote it has been just amazing. And I really would like to do a street team soon. And boy, I hope I have somebody on there that knows what that even looks like, because I still don't really. So I think that
Well, if you
just
need
like,
any help, let me
yeah,
know.
I will
I'm on some
definitely be needing
Months and
help.
Streets. But I remember seeing your post like on my For You page, and I remember commenting on it. And it was before you were even looking for ARC readers. It was like, would you read a book with? And then you had some
Uh,
stuff. And I was just like, yes, like that, I would read that. And so luckily I followed you, and then it came up on my, friends page, so I was able to sign up. But,
yeah.
I think, Jackie Ann is asking what's a street team. So there's a difference between an ARC team and a street team. So an ARC team is, well, and then there's beta readers, but that's a whole different thing. So an ARC
Mhm.
team is a group of people who agree to read the book before it's published. It's pretty much almost done, right? So it's gone through
Yeah.
some line editing, it's gone through some things. Sometimes you still find some grammar mistakes, but the bulk of the book is not going to get changed. So they read that, they review it, and that sort of thing. A street team is more when an author, kind of has more than one book out. It's usually when they look for street teams. It's, some authors have agreements to post like 2 times a month about the book or something, or their books or something like that. But they have like cover reveals, blurb reveals, things like that. So there's more like marketing stuff that goes on in a street team versus an ARC team, as far because there's more than reviews. Am I on point with that, would you say, Audrey?
Yeah, I think that's the way I've seen it too, as far as my limited knowledge. Got to figure out more about it before I start one myself. But uh, yeah, and that's one thing where I think I've struggled with the social media, especially Instagram more so than TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
is like making. I'm not a design person, but like making like posts that are like aesthetically appealing
Yeah.
for like a street team to then publish, like post. And so that's where I'm like, boy, I'm gonna have to figure that out first before I go on to that step.
Yeah. Yeah, I use Canva a lot of the
I do
time.
too, but I
Um,
still
you
feel
know,
like mine look mediocre.
It's and I think like I was talking about this in one of my engagement groups. So like everybody has an aesthetic and I don't have one. I don't have an aesthetic. I post what I want and what
Mhm.
I think looks cool. And sometimes I try to like do search like the templates, and but like if something it has something to do with like, I don't know, pirates, I'll do like ocean, and then like I'll have like an ocean background. But other than
Yeah,
that, I post what I want. But Canva's really great. I
it
pay for the
is.
pro
Yeah.
now because I post so much. I just need the pro. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, so let's see. So one of the questions was, do you play music while you write? And Jackie Ann said, did you listen to certain music for certain scenes? What did that kind of look like?
Yeah, so I definitely do, and also just kind of like depending on my mood. Um, I've listened to a lot of like more, I guess I don't know what you'd call this genre, like more modern classical kind of sounding music. Like his name is, and I found him on TikTok. His name is Joel Sunny, and there's a lot of other artists that are like sound similar to him. So I listen to that a lot when I'm just like writing, just to write. But I was writing a scene yesterday that was like a little more. intense. And so I did turn on like something that sounded like a little more intense. And then, I write my blog a lot too. And when I write that, I try to listen to totally different music from my books just to like set my mind in the right mood between the two. And so it's been kind of funny because that I listen to like a lot of like bluegrass and jamgrass. And so I definitely don't listen to that while I'm listening to or while I'm writing, if that makes sense.
And so does your music has words in it while you write?
It mostly not. Sometimes
Okay.
yes, but like very quietly. So yes, definitely while I'm listening for my blog, I listen to words, music with words, but not so much when I'm writing for the books.
Awesome. Cool. And so the last question was, have you traveled anywhere as research for your book? We kind of talked about how it's kind of inspired by Glacier. Anywhere else or anything else that kind of inspired you for making your Fey world?
So like actually like the greater like inland northwest is kind of the inspiration for the world. Quartz Mountain is actually like it is a real place. It's actually called Crystal Mountain, and that's in Idaho. And you can actually drive up to it. You don't have to hike. So that's convenient. But I didn't call the book Crystal Mountain because there's like a really famous ski resort in Washington named that too, and it just felt like a little oversaturated. So I changed it to Quartz Mountain. And then I've got a spot in kind of towards the end of the book called Sapphire Falls, and that is actually inspired by another place in Idaho too. I guess there's more Idaho in it than I realized, but there's this place on the Salmon River called Ruby Rapids, and it's a class 4 rapid, and then the sand that's there is filled with garnets and rubies. Like you
Cool.
just scoop it
That's
up
cool.
and you've got like gemstones in your hand.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, check in. The name of the book is Quartz Mountain by Audrey Lynn, and it is out now. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those fun places.
It's actually only on Amazon currently.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's on Amazon.
because I'm getting the Ingram Sparks up, and you have to
Okay.
use something called Ingram Sparks to get them on Barnes and Noble, and then you have to hope that they buy it. And I just decided I had too much going on trying to get the book launched just on Amazon. I thought I'll get there with that in a few months,
Okay, so Amazon.
Yeah.
And then the next one is coming out generally when?
I have it on pre-order for October 24th.
Cool. That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And then my last question that I added recently, which I just thought about it. Do you have any upcoming events or signings?
I don't. Since I'm so new, I mean, my book's been out 2 weeks. I have not even like gotten to the point where I've figured out where I could go for those kinds of things living in rural Montana. So no, not yet.
But you are looking and trying to get a store set up online so that you can sell signed copies.
I am, and I'm going to set up a box. Well,
Oh, you broke up.
oh, sorry. I said yes. I'm working on changing my website to be a store as well, and then I'm going to set up a TikTok shop as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. That's a great way. That's a great way to go about it. So if anybody has any questions, that's it for mine. But if anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and ask them in the chat. But who was your cover designer? Because your cover is absolutely beautiful.
So I love my cover. I took a chance with this company called getcovers.com. It's like it's owned by MIBL Art, which is another company that does covers. Since I'm on like a very tight budget, we live on one income. I went with them because they're like the interns of the other company, and I had seen kind of mixed reviews, and I had read saying, if you go with them, just be very specific about your vision and it should be okay. And I was like, all right, I'll take a risk and see how it goes. And fortunately, it turned out really, really nice, and I love it. So
Cool. Cool. I'm always curious about that because like I find that like indie authors, like their covers are just like so beautiful, unless sometimes they commission people to draw and do those things. But I like how like simple it is. Like I love the colors and how simple it is.
Yeah. I
So
think eventually I would love to do more commission stuff and support other artists, but I've got to, get a little more money
yeah,
first before I can go into that
give me a little
myself.
support.
Yeah.
So I really hope that you all enjoyed the live today. And I hope that you guys can go support Audrey and read her book. It's called Quartz Mountain, and you can get it on Amazon. You can get physical copies, right? And then there's digital copies.
Yeah. And
So you guys
it's part of Kindle Unlimited as well.
it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's part of Kindle Unlimited, as well. So that's really good to know. So thank you so much, Audrey, for joining me today. I really, really enjoyed talking with you. And I cannot wait to read Sapphire Falls. I'm so excited.
Thank you. You have a great
You're
evening.
welcome. All right, you too. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.